my name is Laura Grace Tarpley. I am originally from Arkansas in America, but I recently finished one full school year teaching in China. There are a lot of cultural differences between the West and China. Big things such as individualism versus collectivism or different communication styles. However, it's really those tiny cultural differences that affect your day-to-day life that will take the biggest toll on you sometimes. So if you're prepared for what to expect, it can really help make your transition to China easier. So today I'm going to talk about a few of the small cultural differences that will affect you while you're in China.
What was the first cultural difference that you noticed in China?
The first cultural difference that I experienced was probably people staring at me. A lot of people in China, especially depending on where you live, might have never even seen a foreign person before. So when you just walk down the street, everyone will be staring at you. Just so you know, it's not considered rude in China. It's very culturally appropriate for people to stare. So don't get freaked out if people are staring at you a lot. And if you do something that's out of the ordinary, they'll definitely be looking at you. One time I was lost and I just started crying, and people definitely noticed and stared a lot at the blonde girl who was bursting into tears on the street, which really did not make my stressful situation any easier.
What is it like to take public transportation in China?
I would use two words to describe it. I would say loud and clean. Now, it's loud because of course there are so many people in China, especially in the cities, but in America, we are typically considered one of the louder cultures anyway, but if you're in public transportation and your phone rings, you will probably try to speak lowly or just ask to call the person back when you're alone. But in China, they don't really do this. It's also not considered impolite to speak loudly on public transportation like that. And there's so many people that they usually have to yell into their phones to really be heard. So it's definitely very loud on public transportation. The other word I would use to describe it would be clean. And that is because there's a rule in China that you cannot have any food or drink on the metro. And you will be fined if the police catch you. In Shenzhen, where I lived, I believe it was a 500 RMB fine. And I know in Taiwan, they don't even let you have water. On mainland China, it's fine to have. So it can be annoying, but the plus side is that the metros are very clean typically.
Describe how different genders interact with each other.
So the different genders, when it comes to people of the same gender, Chinese people are very touchy-feely. So I would go shopping with female friends and they would link arms with me or just so you know, when people of the same gender do that type of thing, they aren't trying to come on to you or anything. So don't get freaked out. And as far as opposite genders go, they're actually not touchy-feely at all. It's considered a little bit taboo to hug someone of the opposite gender. My husband and I became really close with a few of the girls that we shared an office with who were Chinese. And it was still considered a little bit weird to hug them. Like when we left to go back to America and said goodbye to them, a couple of them hugged Daniel, but then there was one who, even though they were really close, still said she wasn't comfortable hugging him. And that's just because she was very traditionally Chinese. However, when in doubt, if you are a hugger like my husband and I are, feel free to ask them if you can. Like one time, a friend of ours, a Chinese girl, told us that she found out she was pregnant and we were so happy for her. And my husband said, may I hug you? And she said yes. So it really just depends on the person and how traditional they are. And if they say no when you ask, don't be offended. It doesn't mean that they hate you. It just has something to do with how traditional they are, most likely. So those are the three big, or rather three small cultural differences I can think of between the West and China that really affected my everyday life. That would be transportation, opposite genders and same genders, and then the staring. So hopefully you're a little bit more